Welcome into an episode of No One Asked Us. I am Logan Lee. Craig is with us, but Craig is on the road. Hello, Craig. How are you? How was your drive?
Outstanding. Doing fantastic.
This is a busy time of year. As you can see, Craig is seeing cornfields out to his right and left. How's the snow? Have you seen any snow around there?
No, we haven't yet.
Eventually, I think you'll
sure
start to
it's
see
coming.
little white stuff on the ground. Yeah, there's quite a bit of it up here still, although it's starting to melt away. It is the holidays, and things are a little busy around here, so we're doing this today, recording on a Monday, while Craig is on the road. Craig is not driving. Christy is driving, for those that are concerned. They have a couple passengers in the car, in the back seat, the dogs. Everything is great. Everything is under control, but we wanted to get a show out for you guys today. As opposed to waiting until Tuesday. We felt like that might be a little long after the football game on Saturday. So we're going to do this now. We're going to try to make this short and sweet as possible, because there are plenty of things to talk about. Before we get started, Craig, anything you want to just drop on the people right now? How's your drive? Any updates? Any life updates? Anything?
I got nothing.
All is well. I mean, we've already talked. We talked twice this weekend. Illinois basketball. We'll just start there. Illinois basketball, 2 games this weekend. We're not going to do much to recap these games right now, because we did full post-game shows already. So if you haven't seen those, haven't heard those, go find those. Those are on our YouTube page. They're on anywhere you get your podcasts. Full 30-ish minutes, recapping both the UCLA game and the Virginia game. Illinois goes out to Las Vegas, goes 1-1 in the Continental Tire Main Event. And yeah, they beat the big win on Friday against UCLA, and then the loss to Virginia on Sunday. Again, we're not going to do much to recap those, but that's what happened. A couple other notes basketball wise, before we kind of get into the conversation here. Terrence Shannon Jr. was named Big Ten Player of the Week today after his 29-point performance against UCLA. So that was, not really a shock. He was 8 for 9 from 3 on Friday. You've had a little bit more time to think about it. Is Terrence Shannon the best guard in the Big Ten, Craig?
I don't know. I'll have to think about that. He's definitely top 5, top 3, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. Michigan State's playing very well.
Michigan State's playing very well, and that does bring up my next thing. The AP poll came out today. Illinois moved up 3 spots. They're number 16 in the most recent poll. Some other teams of note that are also in the poll. Texas is number 4. For those that are listening, Craig is giving us a great shot. Onyx is riding shotgun here, and really just wants to be in on the action. He can't hear me, but he clearly knows that I'm here, so I'm just happy to see you. Maybe it's my hat. Maybe it's my Santa hat that he's very distracted by. Texas is number 4 in the polls. Illinois plays Texas on December 9th in New York City. Virginia, the team that beat Illinois on Sunday, moved up all the way up to number 5. I don't remember where they were. They were like 16 maybe. They jumped quite a bit after beating Baylor and Illinois.
As I think Illinois would have. Would have been
exactly.
6 or 7.
Illinois would have jumped up that far too, probably as well. Indiana's 11. Michigan State, as Craig mentioned, is playing really, really well. They're 12. I'm kind of surprised they're not even higher.
They were unranked, right?
Yeah, they were unranked. So they obviously jumped quite a bit, but they're playing really well so far. UCLA, who Illinois beat, fell to 19. And then the 23, 24, and 25 are all Big Ten teams. Maryland 23, Purdue 24, and Iowa 25.
Maryland's been impressive.
Maryland's been, yes, they have been. This is going to be a fun Big Ten year. I still don't really know who the cream of the crop in the Big Ten is. Right now, it could be Michigan State, but Illinois is looking good, and there's always Indiana.
I think it's a lot different than last year where you kind of had the 3 at the top in Michigan. Was it Michigan? No. Wisconsin, Illinois, and Purdue, and then a bunch.
Yep.
I think this year you're going to have about 6 or 7 at the top. Maybe even more that are very, very close.
Yep, I agree. Last basketball note, Illinois' next game is Friday night, this coming Friday, Black Friday against Lindenwood. That game is in Champaign at the State Farm Center. Tip-off is at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. That can be watched on Big Ten Network Plus. If you have that subscription, I will probably be having to borrow from somebody in order to watch that game on Friday. So we will get into that later. So that is anything else basketball. We're just going to brush through that. We've already done the post game, so there's not much left to talk about.
It's my second or third favorite week of the year. Peace Week. I love Peace Week.
It's a great week. Maui's going on right now. Plenty of MTEs and tournaments and everything. On top of NFL, college football, and the World Cup also going on right now. A lot going on in the world of sports. But yes, college basketball season is very much underway. A lot going on right now. Not much for Illinois this week, but they will get back in action on Friday after Thanksgiving. Now that you've had a couple days to think about it, thoughts on the tournament? Just real quick on just how they played. Yeah, on Vegas.
Same as yesterday. I like where the team's at. I like Brad said it in the post game. Rarely are we happy after a loss, but I'm pretty pleased with what I saw this weekend. And I think this is going to be I said it in our post game, a second weekend of the NCAA tournament team. I think they proved it. And once we get Luke Goody back and more experience for the freshmen, I think this could be a pretty good year.
I agree. All right, we'll move on to football. Illinois football went to Ann Arbor on Saturday. And in a matchup that they really shouldn't have been in. That game really shouldn't have been close. Michigan is a better team. But for one reason or another, Illinois stuck with them. This was a 7-3 game at halftime. Illinois only trailed by 4 points. And they ended up only losing the game by a field goal. It was 19-17. It was the kick at the last second that gave Michigan the win. Otherwise, it would have been a huge upset in Ann Arbor. Michigan needed that. Illinois needed it if they wanted to make the Big Ten championship. Michigan needed it if they wanted to play in the college football playoff. I had a couple Michigan friends that I was texting after the game. I said, I never wanted to ruin your chances of making the playoff. Like, that's not what I was trying to do, but I really wanted to see Illinois pull that win off. I'm assuming you caught most or not all of this, kind of what are your thoughts on that outcome? I mean, it was kind of shocking a little bit just to see it all play out.
It kind of backed up what I said a couple of weeks ago that, I want them to win, but even when they lost, I was like, all right, whatever. I didn't expect to win, I'm kind of not really over football, but the season just kind of took a nosedive the last couple of weeks. But when they had that chance to win, I was definitely edging my seat, hoping that they would. But it shows that this team never gives up. Like, they always believe in themselves. I just realized while you were kind of leading into this, Michigan scored on their first drive of the game, 2 minutes into the game. They didn't find the end zone for the other 55 minutes. All their other points came from field goals. So the defense, dare I say, is back. It helps that Blake Corum left the game injured and their running game kind of went non-existent after he left. But, it brings some hope back to the team. I think it was much needed just to, you can't really take moral victories at this point when you're fighting for a Big Ten West title. But it shows that this team hasn't gone away. They're still going to fight, and they got another game this week and in the bowl game to maybe end this season 9-4, which would be a big step forward.
Chase Brown was once again the bulk of the Illini offense, 140 yards on 29 carries, scored a couple touchdowns. Tommy DeVito, 21 for 30 in the air, 178 yards, did not throw a touchdown, but also did not throw an interception. Not really much else to discuss, individual performance wise.
Every week, there are these accounts that run the numbers and like SP Plus and all that stuff. There was one I saw this morning that I come across every week. I don't follow, but someone retweets it every week. It's like the differential in which team played better or which team played worse, and it's like one team is the constant, like 0 is the average for that game, and then it goes from there to chart. And by that statistic, this win for Michigan was considered a lucky win because Illinois played better by statistic measures. Like the biggest gap was LSU and UAB. Like LSU just blew the doors off of UAB. So the LSU logo was like way higher than UAB, which was on the 0 line. Well, Illinois was on the 0 line and they were above Michigan. So technically by that metric, Illinois should have won that game, which kind of was shocking to me because I don't think either team played particularly well.
No, I agree. I don't think Illinois particularly played all that well in the game, but they were just in a position where they could have won. A couple things down the stretch. I know Brett Bielema was very vocal about the officiating. I'm sure you and many other fans had similar thoughts to echo his sentiments, but you can't really blame that. They had the chances to win. They were in that game. Yeah, I was just happy to see that they were in that game. I just wasn't really expecting that. But it's
what is it, 2 weeks in a row now that pass interference calls kind of hurt Illinois in the final drive of the game or at some point in the game. I know I was just checking Twitter before we got on here. The Monday presser, Joey Wagner asked Ryan Walters a question about Devin Witherspoon and those PI calls because it's been on Witherspoon the last couple of weeks. And Walter said, I tell him to keep doing the same stuff because it's great defense. Because I think a lot of them have not been PI and they've been called to PI. So Bielema's definitely had some calls with the Big Ten office the last couple of weeks to figure out what's going on with the defense.
Yeah. Bielema, we haven't talked about it. Bielema was coaching in this game after the sudden loss of his mother. Brett Bielema's mom, Marilyn, passed away this week. And so he kind of made that decision on Friday that he was going to go to the game and coach. So, good on him to do that. He said he had the support of his family and everything to do that and make that happen. So obviously we're thinking about him and his family. I think the services were going to be, this week sometime, Sunday, Monday, or something like that. So that's got to be tough to be in that situation, to coach in that situation. But I mean,
especially the way it happened.
Right.
It was very unexpected. Like she came out of surgery and then the next day they were like, she's not doing well, which that's like the scariest thing when they tell you everything's going right and then it just turns on the switch.
Yeah. Very tough. I mean, his team really rallied for him. I mean, they were, they weren't playing their best football, but as I've said, they were in a position to win that game against the number 3 team in the country. And that's really, you want the win. You would have loved the win. The win would have done a lot for your program. But it is what it is. I don't think that they were really supposed to be in that game at all. So to be that close, it's, as you said, you hate moral victories at this point, but it kind of is what it is. So that is Illinois' 3rd straight loss after starting the season, whatever, 6-1 or whatever it was, 7-1. Yeah. 3 straight is not how you want to end your season. They do still have one more game against Northwestern this week, and they will be the heavy favorites in that. Northwestern is terrible. Gotta hope you win that. To at least, I mean, 8 wins is where that if we said 8 wins at the beginning of the season, that would have been obviously a
Illinois
step in the right direction.
Take 8 wins a year every year.
I will gladly take it.
You don't need to win 10 at Illinois. You just need to go 8-4, and they have a chance to do it.
They definitely have a chance to do that. So that game, oh goodness, that game is
2:30 on Saturday.
Yes, 2:30 Central Time, 3:30 Eastern Time, Saturday, in Evanston on Big Ten Network. Illinois is the 2-touchdown or 13-point favorite as of time of Craig putting this together. So that is on Saturday.
Wait, what did you have? 13?
13.
Okay, I think that's still what it's at. Okay. I checked just like 20 minutes ago.
Northwestern's 1-7 on the year in conference play, 1-10 overall. So they're not very good. Illinois,
and they started 1-0.
Yeah, they started 1-0 was that in Ireland? Is that where that game was?
Against Nebraska,
Yeah, and then they haven't won a game since. So Illinois should definitely win that game. and you got to hope that they do. So, yep, 3 straight losses. Now they've had to Northwestern and then the bowl game, wherever they end up after that. We will discuss more of that next week. Okay, other Big Ten.
I
Go
did
ahead.
look up. I've been keeping track of bowl projections.
Oh yeah,
I got about 9 or 10 that I look at every week. Music City seems to be the most likely among projections.
You going?
Against some SEC school. It varies depending on what outlet we look at. If it is in Nashville, there's a chance that I will try and go to that, but we'll see. It's still a long way away.
What date would that be on?
That's New Year's, December 31st.
Okay. All right.
There's a couple that have them in the Pinstripe Bowl in New York. There's one that's the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville. And I think there's one more that I can't think of. But the consensus, the majority is Music City in Nashville.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Last week in the Big Ten, Ohio State over Maryland 43-30. Penn State was big over Rutgers, didn't shut them out, but kind of crushed them. Wisconsin was only 1 point better than Nebraska, 15-14. Purdue beat Northwestern 17-9. Indiana needed 2 overtimes to get past Michigan State. So good for the Hoosiers. They haven't had a very good season, so good on them. And then Iowa took down Minnesota 13-10. So this week, that sets up the final week of the regular season. The Big Ten has 1 game on Friday night, Friday afternoon, rather, Black Friday, Nebraska at Iowa. And then the rest of the games are on Saturday. The big one, obviously, Michigan at Ohio State. That'll be on Fox. That's the noon kickoff, 11 Central Time. The winner ultimately controls their destiny. The loser, we'll get into that. Rutgers at Maryland, Illinois at Northwestern, Minnesota at Wisconsin, Purdue goes to Indiana, and Michigan State at Penn State. That is the Big Ten lineup for the final week of the season. Couple scenario things to look at in terms of Illinois getting to the Big Ten championship game as the Craig gets darker and darker with every given second. I didn't even consider this part about this.
Me neither.
We'll see how this goes. Couple scenarios. If Illinois is going to win the West and make it to the Big Ten championship game, they need a few things to happen. Number one, they obviously need to beat Northwestern. They also need Nebraska to beat Iowa, and they need Indiana to beat Purdue. If those 3 things all happen on Saturday, Illinois will claim the Big Ten West title and will play either Ohio State or Michigan in Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship. There are 8 possible outcomes according to our producer. Iowa is the favorite in this situation. They have 5 outcomes in which they will come out on top. They're the likely team to end up in Indianapolis. Purdue has 2 outcomes, and Illinois has the 8th.
If Iowa wins, they are in, as far as I can see.
Yep. So it's not out of the question that Illinois could play
3 weeks ago.
Do what?
Who would have thought that 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I know. You had them like as the worst team in the conference for most of the season in your power rankings. So yeah, it's certainly not out of the question that Illinois can play for the Big Ten championship, but they're going to need quite a bit of help. It doesn't help that they lost their last 3 games to get there. All right, power rankings. We're going to try to do this. It shouldn't have changed too much, I wouldn't think. I know mine didn't change a lot. We're going to try to do this while Craig is on the road.
I did.
Do you want to start? Yours did change a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll let you start.
Changes at the bottom for the first time in a long time.
All right.
Northwestern is still at the very bottom at 14. Yep. Rutgers drops down 1 to 13. Michigan State drops down 2 to 12. Nebraska stays at 11.
Okay.
All 4 of them lost, so they are at bottom 4.
Okay. I kept Northwestern at 14. I just moved Rutgers and Nebraska down a spot. So I have Rutgers at 13 and Nebraska at 12. As you said, both of those teams lost. So they just moved down a spot in my rankings. Okay. Give me your 11 through 9.
Nebraska at 11. I jumped Indiana up 3 spots just because they won. So I jumped them over everyone that lost. So they're up to 10. And Maryland drops down 1 more to number 9.
Okay. I have Michigan State moving down a spot to number 11. I'm adjusting this on the fly because I screwed something up. And I have Indiana because of the win. Yeah, jumping up 3 spots, I think, to number 10. So Michigan State 11, Indiana 10, and then I have Maryland at 9. All right, 8 through 6.
Wisconsin up 1. They beat Nebraska, so they jumped Maryland. Purdue stays at 7. Even though they won, it was Northwestern and they didn't blow them out. And Illinois drops from 5 to 6. So Illinois now at 6.
Okay. I have Wisconsin staying even at 8. I have Illinois staying even at 7. I want to put them higher, but they've lost 3 in a row. I just can't do it. In Minnesota, I have it 6 after the loss to Iowa. Give me your 5 and 4.
Minnesota at 5, Iowa at 4.
Okay.
Iowa from 14 to 4 in the span of like 3 weeks.
I have Purdue 5 and Iowa 4. The main reason being both of those 2 teams have 5 conference wins. Nobody else below them does. And then obviously, I imagine your top is still the same, hasn't changed. Penn State 3, Michigan 2, Ohio State 1.
Yep.
And then the this Saturday will determine who sits at the top. The big battle in, where's that at? I think I just read that. Is that game in Columbus? Okay, in Columbus. So power rankings. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's do you want to do picks or do you want to talk about some of these some of these scenarios?
What scenarios? Playoff scenarios?
Yeah.
Let's do that first and we'll end with picks.
Okay. So I don't really mean scenarios, but I think basically at this point, I think there's about 7 teams that are legitimately still have a shot at this. 3 of them control their own destiny. Georgia, Ohio State, and Michigan. Those 3 teams went out, they're in.
You don't think TCU controls their own destiny?
Well, I'll get into that. TCU and USC, I want to say both, especially TCU. I really want to say they control their own destiny. But I just wonder if there's a scenario where I don't know what it would be. I think they need a lot. I think a lot would have to go wrong for them to not control their own destiny. But I do think that
you see a situation potentially that TCU wins all of their games and doesn't get in. You think that would happen or could happen?
I think the big the big factor here is LSU. I think if LSU beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, Georgia's still going to be in. Ohio State, again, it depends on the Ohio State and Michigan outcome, and it depends on the eventual Georgia and LSU outcome. I think both of those games could somehow impact it. I don't think it's likely, but I think it could.
The situation you're seeing is LSU beats Georgia in the title game, which would mean that both of them are in.
Yes.
The potentially Big Ten winner gets in. So that means the committee's deciding between a 1-loss USC Pac-12 champ and an undefeated Big 12 TCU. That's the situation that you're thinking.
Potentially. I don't know. I agree. I think TCU going unbeaten, they should be in. I think they likely will be, but I can't say that with utter confidence that they would be. Just because I think there's other things in there. But either way,
I just don't want one of the undefeateds to lose.
Yeah.
Just give me a couple losses.
USC, if they win out, they got a pretty good shot, but they're going to need a little bit of help. LSU, if they win out, they're going to be in a pretty good spot to make it. I don't know if they will. It'll depend on the other outcomes. Clemson, if they win out, they have a shot. I think they're the least likely of the 7. But they're still technically in that mix. There's a few more teams with just 2 losses, but there's really no real scenario in which any of those teams would make it. So, I think we're just looking at those 7. As we said, the 3 that definitely control their own destiny, plus TCU, who I think should, but I've seen crazier things, and then USC, LSU, and Clemson. Okay, let's do picks. Again, we're going to try to do this quickly while Craig is traveling. Who's picking first this time? Oop.
You. And I need you to write these down for me. Yeah.
No, I will. Okay. All right. So I'm picking first.
I believe that's the way it goes. The host picks now because we got off filter.
But who hosted the last show?
I believe I did.
Okay, well then we'll go with it. My first pick will be Florida State. That's the biggest spread. That's the most confident I feel about any of these games. Oh, I should probably say what games we're picking.
And last week, where we're at in the standings. I know you're real proud of your week last week.
I don't want to talk about my week last week, Craig. Yeah, I went 1-4. Craig went 4-0 or 4-1. And now he has a 3-game lead on me. 37-24. I'm 34-27. I was trying to skip over that, but yes, I have to talk about it. This week, these are the games we're picking. Mississippi State at Mississippi. That game is on Thursday, Thanksgiving. Tulane at Cincinnati on Friday. NC State at Carolina on Friday. Baylor at Texas on Friday. Florida at Florida State on Friday. Michigan at Ohio State Saturday. Oregon at Oregon State Saturday. Notre Dame at USC. Louisville at Kentucky. And Washington at Washington State. Those are the 10 games we're picking. I pick first. I'm picking Florida State.
That was quick pick.
Quick pick. You got the next. USC. That's interesting because I was almost going to go the other way there.
No, I think USC's they're on a mission to get to the playoff, and I think Notre Dame's not the same team on the road. I don't think, or do I have that backwards? I might have that backwards.
Notre Dame's played better on the road than they have at home.
Yeah, that's true. I still just give me USC. I think
that's fair.
They really want to play off first.
That's fair. All right, I'm gonna go against the grain on what I normally do. I can't take them this time. I'm gonna take Texas. Texas over Baylor. Have to go against Chip and Joe.
I'm gonna call Chip and Joe and tell them.
Got to go with my boy McConaughey on this one. That's just I think the smarter money. Baylor's just I don't know. I'm not totally sold at this point. So Texas for my second pick. All right, who you got?
North Carolina. NC State's not very good anymore. North Carolina. I know North Carolina just lost to Georgia Tech, but that's an aberration.
So Craig takes North Carolina over NC State. All right. That means I get my third pick, and I'm going to take Kentucky over your beloved Cardinals. That game is in Lexington. Yeah, I'm going to take Kentucky for my third pick.
Okay. You're going to go with. Give me Oregon. I don't love that one, but I'll take Oregon to beat Oregon State in the Civil War. I know they're the road team, but I'll stick with them.
All right. I'm going to stick in that same conference. I'm going to take the game for the Roosevelt Belt. Washington's playing really well. They're on the road, but I'm going to take Washington to win that.
That's what I was deciding between those two games.
All right, we got 3 left. You're next.
There's 3 games left, right?
Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Tulane, Cincinnati, and Michigan, Ohio State.
I know which one I'm going to get stuck with, but I'll take. Oh man, I'll take Mississippi. I know they played like dog doo-doo on Saturday, but they're back at home in the Egg Bowl, Thanksgiving. I'll take the Rebs to beat the Bulldogs.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to stick you with the big one. I'm going to take Cincinnati. I think the Tulane magic is over. I think Cincinnati will take them at home. So that'll leave you with the other game in the state of Ohio this week. Who are you taking?
The big question is Blake Corum.
Yeah, I know.
I have not seen anything. If he plays, I think Michigan can win. If he doesn't play, from what I saw Saturday against Illinois, I don't think they can. But
I think they need it more.
I still think they could lose. They could lose even with Corum. So I'll take the home team. I'll take Ohio State. What's the line on this? Have you looked
7.5.
Ohio
7.5. Ohio State. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if Corum plays, Michigan covers. If he doesn't play, I think Ohio State could cover. So I'm going to take Ohio State. I'm pretty confident in that, actually.
All right, we did that pretty quickly. Just to recap, Craig took Ole Miss over Mississippi State, Ohio State over Michigan, Oregon over Oregon State, USC over Notre Dame, and North Carolina over NC State. I'm taking Cincinnati over Tulane, Florida State over Florida, Kentucky over Louisville, Washington over Washington State, and Texas over my beloved Baylor Bears. Yeah, we did that in like record time, so that's wonderful. Anything else college football wise we need to talk about?
This is a good week. This
Yeah, it always is.
Rivalry week. Yeah, this is a good week. I don't think I have any other things I want to talk extensively about other than it went by really fast.
Yeah, it just feels like it was just a couple days ago we were talking about this season starting, and now it's already mid-November and the season is nearly over. Yeah, big weekend, games on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. A lot of college football, a lot of good games. Really excited for that Michigan Ohio State game. I'm with you. I think Michigan, if Blake Corum plays, they got a good shot, but I think they need it more. I didn't really talk about that in that situation though. I think Ohio State can lose that game and still potentially make the playoff. I don't think Michigan can.
I don't know. The strength of schedule, man, is
Ohio State will have. Ohio State's going to have wins over now Notre Dame, who's surging.
That's true.
Penn State, who's played really well. I don't know that Michigan. I mean, they have a better strength of schedule than Michigan does. Michigan's strength of schedule is awful outside of the Big Ten. They haven't played anybody. So I mean that Notre Dame game is going to be good for Ohio State. For anything else. So we'll just have to see.
That's true.
All right. We're getting closer to winding this thing down real quick. Paul Goldschmidt, MVP. Would you like to take a second to thank the voters or?
I think we all knew it was coming, so it's not that much of a surprise. But his season was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. There was a point there where every time he came up to bat, you expected a hit, if not an extra base hit or a home run. He was on fire in the middle of the season. And he touched on it in his conversation with the MLB Network guys, how his first month was pretty bad, and then he got into a groove and had 3 outstanding months, and then his last month was pretty bad. So it was cool seeing first and third St. Louis Cardinals first baseman and third baseman on the field, and first and third in MVP. So yeah, this was a fun season. This was a fun Cardinal season. This puts a bow on it. It was really cool that Albert presented it to him as well on the broadcast. So yeah, it was a cool moment. Cool moment. I asked Logan this in text.
Just got to bring it up.
Is he a Hall of Famer? I haven't looked at the numbers. Even when I asked you that and you were telling me about the numbers, I never did go and look. But I kind of agree. He needs a couple more good seasons. Maybe not MVP level seasons, but he needs to play all-star level for a couple more years before we put him in the Hall of Fame.
His numbers right now are oddly similar to Todd Helton, who is currently not a Hall of Famer. He's still on the ballot, could eventually get in. But the numbers are very similar between those two first basemen, and Todd Helton, as I said, is not it. But Todd Helton also doesn't have an MVP award. But they're both have similar careers. They're both Gold Glove first basemen, Silver Sluggers. Goldschmidt's played on some better teams. But we'll just kind of have to see. But I agree. I think he's going to need a couple more big seasons. Before we sign off, World Cup is underway.
Free agent. I just want the hot stove to heat up. I want some free agent moves to happen. I don't care who they are. I just want some free agent moves.
I agree, and we're gonna get there. A few moves have happened, but nothing really of substance yet. But I think we'll start to hear more of that here soon. World Cup, U.S. tied Wales today. Did you catch any of this? I was watching a little bit at work.
Yeah, we had it on in the drive. It started like 10 minutes after we left, so we had just started our drive, and we had it on listening to it. Yeah, it was pretty disheartening. Yeah, had the lead with about 10 minutes left in regular time, and a stupid penalty gave Wales the tie. But and I've thought this before. I don't think I ever tweeted it. I think this World Cup is like just a warm-up precursor for 2026. I think 2026 USA could definitely make some noise and get to a semi or a final. because they are the second youngest team in the World Cup this year. So
I need to
pretty
cut.
much
I have to
team
cut
will
you
be
off
back.
because we're literally about to run out of time.
All right, let's go.
We're
Go
going to
USA.
sign off here. This is No One Asked Us. He's Craig. I'm Logan. We'll see you guys next week whenever we do a show. Have a good time. Bye.